thank you so much for sticking with me through all these years, like over 20 years of me being a public figure, for being an actor and now an entrepreneur, and the fact that you all have stayed with me. I can feel your love and support, and I'm just so grateful to have this family of people out in the world who support me. So I want to say I love you. Thank you.
So today is the first day of the Philippines GWYNETH 2020, and the first plenary speakers, one of my favorite speakers of the day is GWYNETH Paltrow. GWYNETH Paltrow. She talks about her business, Goop, how it is to be a women entrepreneur doing her business online, pursuing her passion, and catering to female clients for her business, for her goals. The difficulties being a women entrepreneur catering to women, just doing what she wants and what she loves. So it's such an inspiration to her. And in this vlog, I recorded some of her top points of what she discussed, and why I think she's a great inspiration for all the women who is still struggling about their self-identity and about what they want to do in life. Her company Goop is now worth 250 million US dollars, and she's really doing well. And she said she has no plans of going back full-time acting because her company Goop is doing really well, but she still can do some Netflix, she said. So watch the video and enjoy what she had said.
It's all about loving yourself, loving the people that you love, being connected to yourself, making sure that you're not sublimating emotions, being clear about what you think and feel, having the courage to speak honestly. And that's really the foundation for knowing yourself and liking yourself and having a life that is of a good quality. Stopping caring what other people think is so liberating. I love cooking. I really like being active. Like, I love walking through nature. I love exercise. I love looking at art. I love going to galleries and museums. Those are probably my main things. Well, I really think that every woman needs to think about who she wants to be as the leader, and then really live that. So I think, in my case, I never wanted to approximate the male archetype in order to be a leader in the male vein. I wanted to discover what it means to be a woman leader and how to be collaborative and kind of embody the more feminine leadership qualities with balancing structure and boundaries, which are traditionally kind of the more male archetypal qualities. And I think every woman needs to figure out what is right for her as a leader and what is right, and then go from that place.
Well, how do you see men as sort of a source of inspiration, perhaps, or possibly as mentors for women leaders? Well, what's your view?
I think, I have a lot of male mentors, and I like having male mentors because they think so differently to how I think, for example. And I think that men, first of all, traditionally they have a lot more experience in leadership than women have, which is changing. So, but they have usually a lot of institutional knowledge around. If you have a mentor that's been in business for many, many years and in a seat of power for many, many years, who's also won and lost and learned amazing lessons. And, I think the strongest lesson I learned from men is around clarity. Because I think as women leaders, we apologize, we don't want to hurt feelings, we want everybody to feel included, and sometimes that is at the expense of clarity. And so that's something that I've been working on a lot, and that my male mentors have in spades, and that I think will serve women leaders very well. Well, I had two CEOs. The first was a guy named Steph Bishop, who had been an internet entrepreneur in London. He's an amazing guy and a close friend now. And I just thought, I don't know how to do this. Like, I can't do this. I don't know anything about e-commerce. I don't know anything about building a media brand, and I certainly don't know anything about building a contextual commerce brand because nobody had really done it yet. And when I decided to move to Los Angeles, he stayed in England, and then he had some personal things going on at the time. And then I hired somebody else, and I just realized, I need to fully embrace the idea that I know how to do this. And so I kind of just took the leap, and I think it was the right decision for the company. I don't know that I'm the appropriate person to stay CEO for the rest of the trajectory. I mean, I certainly don't want to be the CEO of a publicly traded company, and I can tell you that right now. So maybe, my journey in this world will come to an end, and it will evolve into something else. But I don't know. My priority is what's best for the business. And I think right now, I'm probably the best person for the job.
We got been once this together. So how is this pandemic influencing your view on self-care and the way that you built Goop way before the pandemic?
Well, luckily we had a lot of interest, as you mentioned, in this topic for many, many years. The mind-body connection, the nutrition, immune system connection, how unresolved emotions can impact the body in a negative way. So luckily we had so much content there already, and we continue to make that kind of content that our reader was looking at. Obviously we can see data and see who's reading what and what we should be making more of and what questions we should be answering for people. And so,
yeah, Gwyneth, it's just so interesting. The virtual Goop Summit, that was the first ever, and it turned out to be well attended. Do you think that that's because of the increased interest in wellness, or is it more because you made it more accessible and also invited a diverse range of speakers?
I think it was all of the above. I think when you're creating something like an In Goop Health, I think it actually worked out well that our first 7 or 8 were in person, and they were harder to get to. They were more expensive because, of course, of production costs. We always want to make everything incredible and have everybody get the most out of the day. So they had been branded as this amazing thing, and so I think therefore we were able to take it digitally. I think it would have been much more difficult to introduce it digitally. And you're absolutely right, we were able to make it much more accessible both from a geographic perspective and from a price point perspective. And it was a super successful event for us, and people felt very well connected to our mission, to each other. We created this amazing community, and it was great. We're going to do another one next year in the first quarter because it was so successful.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome to know. That's news to us. You just surfaced right.
What happens digitally as well is you afford people the opportunity to dip their toe into the water of those conversations that might be more difficult, and they don't have to necessarily participate. They can observe, they can be anonymous, and I think you're right. For those women who are just exploring this idea of wellness, sexual wellness, nutritional wellness, mental wellness, it's a more private forum digitally.
You mentioned women, and I'm wondering about your target audience. I mean, is the pandemic changing your target audience? I mean, your target audience pre-pandemic are high-income individuals, mostly women, with an interest in personal well-being. But do you think the market has broadened?
We never set out to really have that as a demographic. I think that that demographic had a very early interest in wellness and were sort of the trailblazers in their own community, so we kind the ensuing years, we really broadened all of our price points across all of the verticals, and we are reaching a much, much wider demographic, which is great because a lot of people are very interested in self-optimization and what are the tools that they need to really be the best selves.
Self-optimization.
Internally, ingestible, spiritual, everything. So it's been amazing to see our audience really grow in terms of demographics.
It has. I mean, when you look at beauty content and the products that have been popular in Goop during the pandemic, it really reflected on the DIY trend. I mean, I look at your in-house brand, Goop below. It had besides top 3 overall bestsellers in the beginning of the pandemic. And I'm just curious, how is the brands, and you mentioned this earlier, the contextual commerce model working out for you these days?
I think we were very blessed because when I started, it was just a newsletter. I was just sending content, and I wasn't trying to monetize anything. I had an e-commerce shop. I had no brand partnership, no advertising. So I had 5 or so years of just building a relationship with the audience, just building trust, building following, and that's very rare. Well, mostly because I was too shy to actually monetize the business, but
Were you really shy? How was that for you?
I just felt like, how can I start a business? I'm an actress, people are going to make fun of this, they're not going to understand why I'm doing this. So I had a lot of trepidation about it. It took me a long time to do it, but in that time, I was building this amazing following, and that is how contextual commerce really starts. That you have people who really believe you, believe what you're talking about, are aligned with your values, are very explicit about what these values are, why you're offering certain things you're offering. It became, if we were writing an article about something and we said, okay, and here are all the products that we love, it became almost a service to the customer as opposed to leading with the transactional frame of mind. And so I think that's why it works so well.
So do you think the omni-channel is still really core for Goop? Because before the pandemic, Goop is a mix of e-commerce, brick-and-mortar retail stores, the pop-up stores, the experiences, and the permanent stores.
Of course, I'm reassessing all of that right now. Retail has been very difficult for us and everybody else. We have certain stores that have been performing better than others, and I'm very into risk mitigation at the moment, so I'm being pretty careful. I will say that I think if we are going to expand in brick and mortar anymore, there will always have to be an experiential element. We did a pop-up in Florida this past fall before the pandemic started, of course. And there was a workout out space and a store. And that was, our customer loved that so much, to be able to go into a space and do an exercise class or hear a talk and then go to the retail store. So I still think omni-channel works. I just think that we're in for a little bit of a bumpy ride, maybe for the next couple of years in terms of physical retail.
But to your point on risk mitigation, just how much more important do you think digital connectivity has become for Goop, especially for a brand that's focusing more on online presence, because the pandemic's kept a greater number of people staying and working from home?
I think you're seeing across all e-commerce businesses, all digital media platforms, that those who are creating good product and content or offering a good service, everybody's growing. So that's good for those of us who are lucky enough to have a digital component, and it's been harder for those of us who have a physical business as well, or people who are only in physical businesses. But I certainly am thinking about ways to grow our digital businesses and to continue to really reach those customers through the digital platforms. It's a much more efficient business, and I'm worried about what this next year is going to hold. So it's a very strange moment to be alive. We're living history. It's pretty wild.
It's true, and it's a blessing to be alive. And speaking with you, in fact, we've done what, about 7-8 months, and we're still healthy, and we're here. It's a true blessing. I've got a couple of questions that are coming.
Have a level of self-belief that really only entrepreneurs have. And you have to keep going when everybody tells you so. and you manifest your life for yourself. And that's what entrepreneurs do as well. So I think there is a very close spirit between an entrepreneur and an artist. But I think the business piece, I just learned and loved from growing up in New York. And I always read the business section of the New York Times first and the Wall Street Journal. And everybody used to make fun of me on movie sets when they were reading the art section and I was reading the business section of the newspaper.
I read the business section first, being a business journalist that I've been. Yeah, but you took some time before you embraced the call, full on. You initially hired someone else to run Goop before you took on.
His name's Tony. He's the biggest investor in Goop, and he co-runs a giant VC here in the United States. And he is so brilliant and so, oh my gosh, he's the person that I call when I need advice, when I need to know what to do, and he's been incredible. I also have kind of created a group of mentors, like Brian Chesky from Airbnb. I text him a lot. I also, I have like these men, mostly men on one side of mentors like Michael Dubin, who runs Dollar Shave Club, Michael Preston from Everlane, and then I have an amazing group of female entrepreneurs that I'm texting with all the time as well, like Emily Weiss from Glossier, for example, and a lot of smaller e-commerce businesses as well, and I kind of serve as a mentor for those women as well. So I feel like I've cultivated a group that I can ask whatever the question is. I have somebody to ask it to.
Yeah, that's.
I do try to listen to myself, be very, very clear about what I think and feel, and I'm also trying to be very, very open to what my executive team thinks and feels, and understand everybody's area of expertise is real, and I try to also, cultivate a company where people feel included and aligned in what we're trying to do. I think that's really important for morale overall, that people feel like they're important in an organization, which has been very, very hard to do over the computer. Over these Zoom and Teams meetings, it's very hard to convey a good cultural feeling. So that's where my focus is going right now. It's been a long time of this, so it's crazy.